Morning everybody, welcome to this week's sports podcast. It's Friday the 8th of April 2022. I had planned to put this live straight onto YouTube, but unfortunately I need to wait 24 hours for my account's verified to do that because I haven't tried to use it before, so maybe next week for that. But anyway, we've got plenty of stuff to get talking about this week. Obviously we've got the big game this weekend in the Premier League, we've got the Masters Golf going on, we've got the Australian Grand Prix and the motor racing. There's some of the things that are going on at the moment. We've got the local Halifax Cricket League starts a week tomorrow. We'll talk more about that next weekend. We'll give a full preview to that. But we'll start as usual with the Premier League stuff. And this weekend on Sunday at the Etihad Stadium, we see the big game between Manchester City and Liverpool. Sky are billing this as a title decider. I'm not sure it is as such because anything could happen before the end of the season. Both sides have got similar run-ins. But I think if Liverpool win on Sunday, then they'll have a psychological advantage. But they've got the momentum, it seems, at the moment as well. After a really good result in Europe this week, they both won. But Liverpool's with more clinical victory away to Benfica, so maybe they'll feel that generally they've got the upper hand as well. Plus they've got the FA Cup semi-final against each other next Saturday at 3:30 at Wembley. So there's going to be potential clashes in the Champions League as well at the semi-final if we both get through, because they were playing each other in semis, and it's a shame it won't be the final, but we'll come on to that in a bit. But yeah, the Premier League this weekend, the big game is that one at the Etihad, 4:30 Sunday, Sky Sports. The other live games this weekend are Newcastle Wolves tonight, 8 PM on Sky, and we've got a vital game for Everton at home to Manchester United, BT Sport, 12:30 kick-off tomorrow, lunchtime. Obviously Burnley beat Everton 3-2 during the week, and Everton have had a bit of a downward spiral going on for months now, and they're in the situation now where they could be really in danger of being relegated. So this weekend's games are vital. The 5:30 game Saturday is Villa against Tottenham. Villa have stuttered a bit recently, not been performing as well as I'd like to think they would do. But yeah, they've not had a good season anyway, really. It's not been as good as perhaps they would hope for, but it could still be interested in the top 10. But we need to pick up points against teams like Tottenham. Tottenham obviously in the race for the top 4. Arsenal had a setback in their rush for the top 4 last weekend after losing on Monday evening at Crystal Palace. 3-0, a comfortable victory for Palace. Arsenal didn't play well at all. Palace played really well. But yeah, there's still a 3 or 4 way fight going on. Obviously, I've already mentioned Manchester United are away to Everton tomorrow. They'll still feel they're in the fight for the top 4. Plus, they're very close, I believe, to signing their new manager, Erik ten Hag, the current Ajax coach. So keep your eyes and ears open for news on that across all media outlets. But apparently the deal's very close and it's going to be announced shortly. So after that, on Sunday afternoon on TV, we've got Norwich against Burnley, another massive game. Norwich need to win that game. If they don't win that game, I think they're finished. The Burnley, obviously with a victory over Everton, they're now I think a point behind. So they played the same number of games. So this weekend could be pivotal for those two teams. Watford also have a big game at home to Leeds. Leeds aren't fully out of the woods yet, but they'll feel that they're in a stronger position than they were after the recent results. But if they lose at Watford, they could be dragged back into it. So we'll see what happens there as well. So important live games, important games across the league this weekend in the Premier League. Obviously there's a Friday night live game tonight on Sky, which means on Monday night there's no live game. However, there is a Championship game live on Monday night. It's Huddersfield against Luton, both in the mix for the playoffs. It's looking more like Fulham have more or less got the title won, I'd say, at the Championship level, and Bournemouth are looking more and more likely now to be the team to go up with them, which probably wouldn't be a surprise. At the start of the season you may have said they were the two teams that would get back up into the Premier League, so it's not done and dusted yet, but like I say, Huddersfield and Luton have both had good seasons. They're in the mix for the playoffs along with teams like Sheffield United, West Brom, Middlesbrough. I think Blackburn and Forest might be in there as well, but so if you've got nothing to do on Monday night, maybe that's something for you to watch. In terms of the National League, we've got Halifax Town's home game against Woking tomorrow. A tough 0-0 draw during the week, a vital point probably for both sides against Solihull. There wasn't much between the teams. It wasn't a really exciting game. There weren't a lot of chances. Finished 0-0, but it was a good game between two decent teams, and I think they'll both be in the mix for 3rd and 4th probably in the league now. It's looking more like Wrexham are going to finish 2nd after a 6-0 victory at home to Barnet on Tuesday night, and they've got a game in hand still on Town and Solihull. And they're already in front of us. Stockport are gone, really, I think. They're at home. They're on the live TV game on BT Sport tomorrow evening, 5:20 against Southend. They're close to winning the title, I would say, and they're probably going to win it in the next 2 or 3 games. I think Town have got 8 games left, and some have got 9 or 10. Bournemouth would have got 10, I think. So, but they're outside the playoff places now. This weekend sees games between teams at the top have got games against teams they probably should beat. So Town, like I say, home to Woking, like to think they'll win that one. Then the next game's on Good Friday, next Friday. Away to Altrincham won't be easy. I think Woking are 14th in the league and Altrincham are 15th in the league. Now you might think, yeah, that should be straightforward, but it's not always, especially away from home. And Altrincham have beaten Chesterfield at home already this season. And with having Matty Coslow in the ranks, so I'll be up for trouble. He'll especially be up for trying to get one over his old team. So vital, but the important thing for now is to concentrate on the game tomorrow for Town and try and cement that 3rd place, because they'd like to get a bye through to the playoff. Basically, it's a semi-final to win a game in the final. The rumour is that if the final is going to be held at Villa Park, now I'd love that as a Villa sympathiser, but that's not been confirmed yet. But that'd be great if it was as a venue. It'd be fantastic for something like the National League playoff final. So they're the domestic stuff. On the European front, during the week, Manchester City beat Atletico Madrid 1-0 in the first leg of their quarter-final of the Champions League, so they'll feel fairly confident. Liverpool had a convincing 3-1 win in the end up against Benfica away. Luis Diaz being a big part of the player there, he scored the 3rd goal, I believe. So they'll feel confident, but unfortunately for Chelsea, they had a surprise. Well, we'll say a little bit of a surprise. They lost 3-1 at home to Real Madrid in the first leg of their match, and they're up against it now. Superb hat-trick by Karim Benzema, 2 headers. Fantastic headers, really. You could probably criticise the defending a little bit, but I've got to say it was great. They were both great headers and hard to defend against to some degree. Chelsea had the chance to get back into the game, but Lukaku missed 2 really good chances, especially one header he had when there was a bit of spin on the ball, but he should have scored realistically. For the level that he's at, he should be scoring, but he didn't, so disappointing for Chelsea there, and it looks like they may be on the way out. Bayern Munich lost their first leg over to Villarreal. The Yellow Submarine coming out on top 1-0. Unlucky not to be more in front than one. They had a second goal disallowed. The winning goal was scored by Dan Juma, who used to play for Bournemouth, and then Coquelin, former Arsenal player, had a goal disallowed. So it could have been worse, but Bayern Munich will still be fairly confident, I would think, of beating Villarreal in the second leg at home to set up that semi-final against Real Madrid. And obviously, like I said, mentioned it could be Liverpool, Man City, and then Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. There'll be 2 fantastic semi-finals, but we'll see what happens. In the Europa League and the Conference League last night, the games were only balanced for the British teams, really. West Ham drew 1-1 at home to Lyon. That's only part of the story. They lost Aaron Creswell, who was sent off straight red for being the last man. A very dubious decision, I've got to say. The ball was going away from goal. I think it was a bit of a con by Dembele. Remember Dembele, the former Fulham player, playing up front for Lyon. Even winks at him afterwards, which is not very sporting, but then they are a French team, aren't they? So they're not very sporting out the French at best of times. So hopefully West Ham can overcome that and they can go to Lyon next week and complete the job. Rangers lost 1-0 away to Braga, so they're a little bit up against it, I suppose, but they'll still be fairly confident of winning the second leg at home. They'll feel that they're probably better than Braga, but we're not going to know until the second leg next Thursday. And then in the Conference League, Leicester drew 0-0 at home with PSV. I saw brief highlights of this game where Harvey Barnes hit the crossbar, or sort of crossbar post. That was the closest he came. He had a really good chance for Iheanacho, but he wasted it. He tends to waste a lot of chances. I know he scored last weekend at Man United, and that was a good finish, but he does waste a lot of chances. It's clear that Leicester are missing that Jamie Vardy. The rumour is he may be out for the rest of the season, which is a bit worrying. He seems to be picking up quite a few injuries now, and maybe his career's coming towards its end, unfortunately. I hope it's not going to be the case, but it's not looking great for him at the moment. Let's hope he can get himself sorted out and he can get himself back before the season, or if not, come back to something like his best, because he has been good when he's played this season. It's just been disrupted by his injuries towards in the second half of the season, really. He's still scored quite a few goals. He's got double figures, I think, so it's just a shame. I hope it didn't went in badly for him. Just before we move on to football, a couple of points to mention. With ladies football, women's football, England played their qualifying game tonight against North Macedonia. Ellen White's on 49 goals, same as Harry Kane for the men's team. We've mentioned it on Sky a few times, so let's hope she can get to 50 they can beat North Macedonia. And also local ladies football, Brighouse Town women won the West Riding County Cup match last night, the final. They beat Leeds United ladies in the final on penalties, so well done to Brighouse Town ladies. Nice to see a local team doing well. I'm sure it'll be publicised in the local media as well, because they get good publicity, to be fair, from the career. So well done again to them. Okay, moving on now, and we're going to talk about cricket. And basically the Women's World Cup final was completed last weekend, and England put up a good fight but they ended up losing by 71 runs to Australia. They were undone mainly by a fantastic knock, one of the best ever seen in the history of women's cricket, by Alyssa Healy. She scored 170 runs, and that was the difference between the two teams effectively, and decided who won the match. Basically, England's only real batting success came from Nat Siver, and she scored 148 for England, and that was a fantastic knock by her. But none of the other players scored more than 30 runs. So unfortunately, it wasn't a good enough all-round performance on the batting side of things, and it was definitely the Alyssa Healy innings that won Australia the match. While we're talking about cricket, I just want to mention that there is a warm-up game for the season at Jammy Green at Illingworth this weekend, and it is also a memorial match as such, or that's probably the right phrase to use, in memory of Sam Smith, our friend who passed away unfortunately towards the back end of last year. And he played cricket for quite a long time for Illingworth. In fact, he was the secretary and the captain towards the end of his time there. But he went on to play for Otley for quite a few years, so it's appropriate that Illingworth are playing Otley in a friendly on Sunday. So if you've got time, I think it starts at 1 p.m. there's the match. So if you've got time to go up and see some of the game and pay respects, make sure you get yourself up there on Sunday at lunchtime if you can. Okay, moving on from cricket, we're going to talk about rugby league, and Halifax Panthers had a good win last weekend. They could overcome a half-time deficit. They were 24 points to 10 down at home to Whitehaven, but they managed to run in, I think it was 6 tries, all converted in the second half, to find themselves in a position where they actually comfortably won the match at the end. So that's helpful because they need to climb the way up the table. I think they're still in 10th place at the moment in the table, so they were looking to rise further up the league, but they've played some tough games already. Actually played some of the top teams, so it'll be interesting to see how far up the table they can get themselves. This weekend we haven't got any games, I don't think, apart from one. I think Bradford are playing Barrow at Oddsall on Sunday, and then Halifax Panthers' next game I think is at also Oddsall. Actually, I think they're playing Bradford Bulls away. I'm just going to check that. Yeah, Good Friday, Bradford Bulls away for Halifax. That's the next game. That'll be a tough one. They're in 6th at the moment. They've won the last 3, but Halifax have won the last 2 as well. So Featherstone are clear at the top at the moment. They've won 6 and drawn 1. Lee have won 6 and drawn 1. They've got 12 there in 2nd place, and you've got York City Knights in 3rd place on 10. It's been quite close really, apart from Workington, who haven't got a point from 7 games, and London Broncos surprisingly only scored 1 point from 7 games, but they have lost a lot of the players during the close season, so they're struggling a little bit. But yeah, Halifax need to pick up the game now. They're starting to show a bit of form, and hopefully they can start by beating the Bradford Bulls on the on Good Friday. Next we're going to talk about the golf, because the Masters on at the moment. We've had the first round, and well, the main story has been about Tiger Woods. Now, I've got to admit, I'm not a big Tiger Woods fan, but you've got to give him credit for the fact that he's come back from almost having his leg amputated after a really, really bad car crash over a year ago, to actually being able to play. And he actually carded a round of £100 in the first round, so you've got to give him massive credit for that. Song Jae Im is leading, the Korean number 26 in the world. He leads after the first round. He's 600, I think. He's a couple of shots clear of somebody, I think it's Cameron Smith who's in 2nd. He would have been up there with the leader, but unfortunately double bogeyed the last hole. But there's all to play for yet. You've got like the likes of John Rahm, you've got Dustin Johnson, you've got Justin Thomas, who had a poor first round actually. You can never discount players like those. They're all top players. I didn't actually realise that Cameron Smith was so far up the world rankings. He's number 6 in the world. I knew he was, and I know he's been performing well, but I didn't realise he was so far up. So he's got to be a real threat. So you'll see over the next 3 days how it develops. Elsewhere this weekend, we've got the Grand National tomorrow at Aintree. The meeting started yesterday. First race of the first televised race caused some controversy. I think it was Knight saluting Pied Piper. It was a dead heat. Went to a steward's inquiry, and even though the jockey who finished, so like one who could have been impeded, said there was nothing wrong with what the other jockey David Russell had done, the stewards overturned the result, and which benefited me because the Bet Victor play out first past the post, so I got the win on the exchange for laying it off, and also a partial win at the bookmaker. So that was a win-win situation for me, but it was a bit of a strange one. There were some good races. The conditions weren't great. They were a bit murky and quite heavy. So we're looking for better conditions maybe today and tomorrow. Hopefully for tomorrow. I think the big race is at 5:15. I don't ever, as you know, I don't do tips. Anything could happen in the Grand National. Such a big field, 40 horses normally, and it's basically a lottery. It's not. It's the race that everybody. People don't even know anything about betting. They'll put a horse on a pound on a horse because they like the name or the colours or whatever, stuff like that. So it's like I say, it's a lottery, and we'll just see what happens there. Also this weekend we've got the Australian Grand Prix in the motor racing. That is underway. I think it's 6 AM on Sunday morning the race starts. Lewis Hamilton's not had the best start to the season. Mercedes haven't. George Russell's done okay considering, but the Mercedes cars aren't really performing at the level I would like, and they reckon it might be in the European season before they start getting anywhere near where they need to be. But I think Lewis will be hoping that there's not a victory for Leclerc again. Leclerc and Verstappen are going to get away from him, and he'll be too far behind to have a chance in the championship. They're hoping that doesn't turn out to be the situation. After the second practice this morning, I think Leclerc was past this again, so he's had a really good start to the season, so he's going to be a threat in a Ferrari. So we'll see what happens with that as well. The stock car season continues this weekend. We've got meetings at Mildenhall Saturday evening and Northampton Sunday lunchtime, both qualifying rounds. So far we've only had 3 meetings. This last Sunday was the first real meaningful meeting of the season at Hensford Hills. The final was won by world champion Tom Harris, but so far in the season the top 3 drivers have been Harris, Ryan Harrison and Frankie Wayman Jr. They're the 3 probably best drivers out there at the moment, you know, as they've been over recent times, so it's not a real surprise. And we'll see how the season develops more over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Don't forget Odsal, Bradford have got a stock car meeting next Saturday, Formula 1 meeting next Saturday. I think that starts at 5 PM. It's either 5 or 6. I'll check that way and we'll mention that again in next week's podcast. The Speedway season's underway. It's been hampered somewhat by the weather. This week we had one match at Wolverhampton. Sheffield won at Wolverhampton. That's 2 wins out of 2 in the League Cup away from home for Sheffield. 46-44 each time. First one at Bellevue, second one at Wolverhampton. Last night's match between Sheffield and Bellevue at Allerton was called off because of the weather. It's been rearranged for next Thursday. I expect a bumper crowd the night before Easter, before Good Friday. So may go along to that one. We'll see what happens. Hopefully the weather's a bit kinder next week. The Grand Prix aren't that far away either. They started in the month. I think the first one's on Saturday the 30th of April, and that's in Croatia, and we'll do a preview of that near the time as well. So I think that's about all I want to cover this week. If I've missed anything out, I apologise. I've covered most of the main things I can think of. So I hope you've enjoyed watching as always, and like I said, we're back next week with more information with regards to cricket and the season in the Halifax League. Obviously the county championship's underway, and I haven't mentioned that. It started yesterday. There's not much to comment on that so far, other than to say that Alistair Cook scored 100, and Yorkshire have signed 3 foreign players. They signed two Pakistani players. Harris Ralph is one of them, from what I remember. We'll see how that pans out. We're quite pleased with the signings. I wasn't that convinced how good they are, but we'll see, and I'll look at that in more detail as well. So for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next week. So bye.